This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, August 21st, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
The debate over proposed congressional maps in the Texas legislature nearing an end, but the conversation on that topic just beginning nationally. I'm Clayton Neville.
A federal judge in New York has rejected the government's request to unseal grand jury transcripts. Julie Walker, New York.
The effects of Hurricane Aaron being felt from Massachusetts to Florida. Coastal erosion, closed beaches, and flooding in North Carolina. A win for the Trump administration in federal appeals court, and a new job for Tiger Woods.
Vice President JD Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth visited with National Guard troops taking part in President Trump's crackdown on crime. Ed Donahue, Washington.
On Wall Street, stocks are coming off a mixed day, and investors are waiting for results from Walmart today. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Texas Republicans have passed controversial congressional maps that created a national buzz surrounding redistricting. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports on the effect the move could have statewide and on a national level.
The proposed congressional maps need final approval in the Texas Senate and could give President Trump 5 additional seats in the midterm elections next year. The president has encouraged the Republican-led legislature in Texas to get the maps passed for months now. It was a priority in a special session that was run out by Democrats who broke quorum and left the state to delay a vote on the maps that they say discriminate against Black and Hispanic communities. After weeks of fines, threats of arrests, and the start of a second special session, lawmakers in the Texas House passed the maps on Wednesday.
88 ayes and 52 nays. House Bill 4 is finally passed.
Debate over the maps got contentious at times. State Rep Todd Hunter ripped into Democrats for leaving Texas.
I don't like walkouts, and you can tell me every reason in the world you did, but you left from 17 to 19 days. And most of the comments I've heard could have been handled, discussed, or mutually involved this House within that time period. You chose to leave.
The Republican got into it with Democratic State Rep Nicole Collier.
So I guess it was okay for you to ask for my help in 2021 and then today attack us.
Well, when we're not included in the process and you
left for 17 to 19 days, how could you be included?
Again,
that's correct. Again, in 2021, you did also.
When you oppress, when you are oppressed, you try to flee the oppressor.
Collier slept in the House chamber for 2 nights leading up to the vote because she refused to sign a permission slip that was required for her to leave the House floor. She was seemingly interrupted while on a virtual call with national Democratic leaders like Senator Cory Booker and California Governor Gavin Newsom from the bathroom in the Texas House.
Sorry, I have to leave. They said it's a felony for me to do this. Apparently, I can't be on the floor or in the bathroom. Well, you told me I was only allowed to be here in the bathroom. No, hang on. Bye, everybody. I've got to go.
Hey.
Senator Booker didn't like that.
That is outrageous. And first of all, let me tell you something. Representative Collier in the bathroom has more dignity than Donald Trump in the Oval Office.
There you go.
That is outrageous. What they're trying to do right there is silence an American leader, silence a Black woman. And that is outrageous. And I hope everybody took note of that.
Texas Democrats pulled out all the stops, proposing an amendment that maps would be considered only after the Jeffrey Epstein files were released by the Trump administration. It was a fight till the end, but now it'll be up to Democratic-led states to make their voices heard against redistricting. Governor Newsom calling for voters to decide if California should redraw its maps in retaliation. He posted on social media after the Texas maps passed, quote, "It's on. See you in November." I'm Clayton Neville.
Wednesday night, the California Supreme Court rejected a petition filed by state Republicans seeking to halt Governor Newsom's redistricting plan. A judge has denied the Justice Department's request to unseal Jeffrey Epstein grand jury transcripts. Correspondent Julie Walker reports that both sides of the Washington political aisle want to see the files released. And California Congressman Robert Garcia, speaking on CNN, questions both President Trump and Pam Bondi for not demanding all files be disclosed.
Pam Bondi, his AG, has told Donald Trump, as reported, that he's in the files and then tries to stop the release that is the beginning of a major cover-up. After Democrats force a subpoena vote to get the files, we forced that vote on Republicans. They're now intending to slowly release the files. We want all the files right now, and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump have the power to do so.
A federal judge in New York who presided over Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking case has rejected the government's request to unseal grand jury transcripts. Wednesday's ruling by Judge Richard Berman came after the judge presiding over the case against Epstein's ex-girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, also turned down the government's request. Barring reversal on appeal, Berman's decision forecloses the possibility of grand jury testimony being released, given that other judges who received the same Justice Department request reached the same conclusions. President Trump had called for the release of transcripts amid rumors and criticism about his long-ago involvement with Epstein. His death in jail while awaiting trial ruled a suicide. Maxwell is serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking. Julie Walker, New York.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's the biggest sale of the year. All beds are on sale. Limited time, only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. When we return on America in the Morning, Aaron update and dust up over federal troops in Washington. Back after these messages. Welcome back. Here with America in the Morning, an update on Hurricane Aaron. First, a look at the national picture. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
The risk for severe weather holds off until this afternoon, and an area from southern South Dakota to northern and western Minnesota faces the risk for storms with hail, strong winds, and intense downpours into tonight. However, a general thunderstorm risk extends back to the south and west into southeastern Montana and northeastern Wyoming later this afternoon. And to the west of there, afternoon thundershowers in western Wyoming and around the Wasatch Range of central Utah, leading to monsoon thunderstorms returning this afternoon to portions of the Four Corners states. The main story otherwise will be impacts from Hurricane Aaron, which remains off the southeast coast while heading to the north and northeast. As this sprawling hurricane continues on this general track, impacts will increase through the coast of the mid-Atlantic and into the northeast through today with very rough surf, nothing short of a life-threatening rip current risk, widespread beach erosion, and coastal flooding expected for many of the east coast beaches, lasting through most or all of the rest of the week. Wind gusts of at least 40 to 60 miles per hour will be most likely for the Outer Banks of North Carolina, as well as around Cape Cod later today, and parts of the Jersey Shore and Long Island may have gusts up to 45 miles per hour for a time as well. Storm surge of up to 3 to 6 feet is also expected at the Outer Banks. Elsewhere, showers and thunderstorms will extend from central Texas through the Gulf Coast, across Florida, and northward into the Appalachian Mountains today, with showers in the interior northeast and into the southern New England coastline, at least early in the day before gradual tapering off. In Nashville, today looks nice with sun and clouds and a high of 87. For Austin, Texas, some sunshine early gives way to what could be a gusty afternoon thunderstorm, high 88. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
More beaches across the eastern seaboard are shutting down as Hurricane Aaron intensifies. More than 50 Massachusetts beaches are now closed to swimmers. Beaches along Long Island and New Jersey are closed, joining beaches from Delaware to Florida that have swimming restrictions due to extreme rip currents. Even though Aaron's center is expected to be about 300 miles off the North Carolina coast, waves expected to reach 20 feet have forced officials in the Outer Banks to issue mandatory evacuation orders. Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Vice President JD Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller on Wednesday paid an unannounced visit to the National Guard troops stationed at Union Station, the major regional train station in the nation's capital. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports their arrival to hand out burgers led to tense exchanges with local residents over the federal troops deployed in Washington.
President went to Union Station in D.C.
You guys bust your ass all day, we give you a hamburger. Not a fair trade, but we're grateful for everything you guys do.
Vance says some law and order has been brought back to the nation's capital.
We don't have to live like this. We do not have to allow our cities to be taken over by violence and by disorder and by chaos. You can actually do stuff.
An estimated 1,900 troops are being deployed in D.C. More than half are coming from Republican-led states. Vance was met by protesters at Union Station. Attorney General Pam Bondi says more than 550 people have been arrested so far, and the U.S. Marshals are offering $500 rewards for information leading to additional arrests. Ed Donahue, Washington.
When we return on America in the Morning, investors frown over Target stocks, and Fed move could send mortgage rates higher. We're back after these messages. Corporate earnings and the Fed. Part of Thursday business. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after mixed markets yesterday. Some believe the pullback in some tech shares could mean seasonality is kicking in. August and September can be weak for stocks.
The action's very erratic. Markets had a huge run. Things are getting a little bit frothy. Weaker seasonal period. Momentum wanes a little bit market-wide. And the market tries to get away with rotating around it as opposed to just across the board pullback. We're going to have a correction.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. The minutes from the last Fed meeting showed members are worried about tariffs, the inflation they're causing, and the weakening labor market. Fed Chair Jay Powell speaks at the Jackson Hole Symposium tomorrow. But if you're waiting for mortgage rates to fall, a Fed rate cut won't necessarily do that for you. Last year, when the Fed cut interest rates, mortgage rates zoomed higher. Mortgages loosely follow the 10-year Treasury while the Fed controls short-term interest rates. Target getting a new CEO, but sales fell again last month and investors sent shares lower.
So I had a chance to speak with Michael Fidelki, incoming CEO, talking about what's gone wrong and what Target's special sauce is, how they get back. My takeaway from Fidelki is it's the Target, on-trend, design-led products at good values. That's what made people like Target. Maybe they got away from that.
CNBC's Sarah Eisen. And here's SW Retail Advisors Stacey Widlitz on CNBC.
The bottom line is Target is losing share in more than half of their categories. The stores are a mess. They're in disarray, inventory shortages, labor shortages.
Meantime, TJ Maxx and Marshall's parent TJX companies had great quarterly results. It's capturing bargain hunting customers.
Being a treasure hunt, not having everything available online. I think many people thought that was never going to work. Look at the numbers. It works. And TJX is definitely stealing market share from the likes of Target, also probably a Kohl's.
CNBC's Courtney Reagan. McDonald's combo meals could get cheaper, according to the Wall Street Journal.
Some of these Big Mac combo meals had reached $18 in some areas of the country. They are going to be cutting the cost of their combo meals. They finally were able to convince franchisees to go along with this new pricing model. Meanwhile, you got Chili's comping well into double digits.
And then if you see the value that's advertised for the sit-down casual restaurants like Chili's and Applebee's, I mean, they've converged in price point to a large degree.
CNBC's Mike Santoli and Carl Quintanilla. Hertz shares were higher on word the rental car chain will sell some of its used vehicles on Amazon. On today's watch list, we do get earnings from Walmart. ESPN launches its flagship streaming service today.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, new concerns for immigrants facing deportation. That and more after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. A federal appeals court in San Francisco has granted the Trump administration an emergency stay, halting a lower court order that preserved temporary protected status for 60,000 immigrants from Honduras, Nicaragua, and Nepal. The National TPS Alliance argued the action was unlawful and at least partially motivated by racial bias. In its decision, the panel paused the federal court's ruling while the appeal process plays out and refused for now to put a freeze on any activity in the district court related to the case. Lawyers for the immigrants are concerned their status now opens them up for possible deportation. Shifting gears, golf's PGA Tour is planning new changes and hopes to energize the sport, and their plans include enlisting golf's most recognizable name. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh reports.
The first move by the PGA Tour's new CEO is to put Tiger Woods in charge of a committee to steady the competitive model.
The goal is not incremental change. The goal is significant change.
Brian Rolap held his first news conference since replacing Jay Monahan as the person in charge.
We have a new leader of the PGA Tour, and Brian Rolap is off to a great start.
Woods is the chair of the 9-member Future Competition Committee. It will have a blank canvas to look at the model. Rolap says the idea is to uphold traditions without being bound by them, and says he wants what's best to strengthen the tour.
The strength of the PGA Tour is strong, but there's much more we need to do, much more we need to change for the benefit of fans, players, and our partners.
When asked about LIV Golf, Rolap says he felt the best players already are on the PGA Tour. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
America in the Morning for Thursday, August 21st, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Hurricane Erin creating life-threatening surf and 100-mile-per-hour offshore winds.
Take action now before it's too late.
I'm Julie Walker.
A warning from Russia. You can't cut us out of any Ukraine deal.
This is a road to nowhere.
I'm Richard Johnson.
The parents of 27 girls killed in the flooding of Camp Mystic urge lawmakers to make camps safer. I'm Jim Roop.
A federal judge weighs in on a Texas law surrounding the 10 Commandments. I'm Clayton Neville.
Contestants for the 49th season of Survivor have been announced. I'm Kevin Carr.
Passengers on a delayed flight from St. Louis to Seattle got some unexpected in-flight entertainment. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Update on your national forecast and Hurricane Erin. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Hurricane Erin continues to churn off the southeast coast between the Outer Banks of North Carolina and Bermuda while heading to the north and northeast over time. As this large storm continues to curve away from the east coast, widespread impacts can be expected along the east coast over the coming days, even into the start of the weekend for some places toward the coast of the northeast. However, today's most substantial impacts should be focused near those aforementioned Outer Banks as Erin makes its closest approach to the U.S. mainland, with the highest risk for wind gusts of 40 to 60 miles per hour in that area, as well as for parts of Cape Cod and the nearby islands to the south later today. Extremely dangerous rip currents, rough surf, beach erosion, and potentially widespread coastal flooding are all possible, if not likely, along much of the coast, and storm surge of up to 3 to 6 feet at the Outer Banks will taper to a 1 to 3 foot surge as far north as around New York Harbor through tonight. Otherwise, the risk for severe weather will return to parts of the northern United States later today, in particular a zone from the I-90 corridor of South Dakota, north and east through eastern North Dakota, and much of northern and western Minnesota, all areas where AccuWeather severe weather experts say that storms this afternoon and tonight may be able to produce hail, downpours intense enough for flash flooding, and localized wind gusts of at least 60 to 70 miles per hour. Thunderstorms also look to be in no short supply through much of the south and southeast by later today, especially the afternoon hours, and some of them may also be rather heavy in a zone from southern Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle. At least some widely separated afternoon monsoon thunderstorms continue in the southwest, with some showers from the New England coast through the Delmarva, as well as to the south of Lakes Erie and Ontario. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Beaches are closed with warnings up and down the East Coast and in the Caribbean as Hurricane Erin is forecast to further impact the continental U.S. today and tomorrow. Correspondent Julie Walker reports on preparations with hundreds of beaches from Massachusetts to Florida shut down for severe rip currents, potential coastal erosion, and flooding, a problem in North Carolina's Outer Banks, where waves are expected to reach 20 feet.
Hurricane Erin creating life-threatening surf and 100-mile-per-hour offshore winds as it churns up the mid-Atlantic coast where dozens of rescues have been taking place and beaches are closed.
Hurricane Erin is generating large swell that are affecting the East Coast, the Bahamas, and Bermuda, and will travel up the East Coast into Atlantic Canada during the next several days. And these rough ocean conditions are expected to cause life-threatening surf and rip currents.
The National Hurricane Center's Lisa Bucci.
It's a large hurricane with hurricane-force winds extending outwards up to 90 miles from its center and tropical storm-force winds out to 265 miles from its center.
The hurricane forecast to stay offshore, but North Carolina's Outer Banks will take the brunt of it. Governor Josh Stein issuing a state of emergency.
If you are under an evacuation order, take action now before it's too late.
Stein says they're prepositioning swiftwater rescue teams and Chinook helicopters are on standby with supplies. But some Outer Banks residents like Tom Newsom staying put.
I've lived here almost 40 years, and I've never evacuated. Not yet. Not to say I won't ever.
He says the highway will likely wash out, but eventually reopen. Resident Brian Phillips also not evacuating.
If this was going to be a direct hit, I'd probably leave. I mean, a Cat 3, Cat 4 direct hit here, you don't want to be here.
Erin, a Cat 2 Wednesday afternoon forecast to strengthen. National Weather Service lead forecaster Bob Oravec says a big issue, rip tides.
We've had personal tragedies here in the National Weather Service with deaths from meteorologists who have, been pulled out to sea and have drowned, even though they can be aware of the effects of a riptide.
Storm watches and warnings in effect and waves up to 20 feet forecast for some areas. Erin even forcing a multi-day surfing competition in Virginia to pause Thursday's action. I'm Julie Walker.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. What's next in the effort to end the war between Russia and Ukraine? President Trump says he's trying to arrange a face-to-face meeting with the country's two leaders. So far, Russia appears to be in no hurry to meet at the bargaining table. The latest from correspondent Rich Johnson.
He has helped end or dial down a few international conflicts this year, but, admits President Trump, not the one between Russia and Ukraine.
This one is the one that is the most difficult, and I thought it would be an easy one.
Phoning into Fox News this week, Trump said he's hoping that the leaders of both countries do what they must.
I hope President Putin is going to be good, and if he's not, it's going to be a rough situation, and I hope that President Zelensky will do what he has to do. He has to show some flexibility also.
Which Trump believes should include a meeting that he's still working to arrange. Meanwhile, in Moscow, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, via an interpreter, reminded Trump, the EU, and Ukraine
they understand perfectly well that seriously discussing security issues without the Russian Federation is a utopia. This is a road to nowhere.
But if Russia wants to stay involved, it needs to take some action. Something that Ukrainian Member of Parliament Kira Rudik says hasn't happened.
We have not seen by this moment any single fact that would prove that Russia wants to end the war, is capable of a ceasefire, or has any ideas of making a deal.
She said both the U.S. and EU must be ready to impose more sanctions on Russia.
Rather than just feeding to the leadership of the United States the illusion that it is possible to end the war just by talking to Putin.
Rudik's comments courtesy of NBC. On Monday, Trump ruled out U.S. ground troops as part of any future Ukraine security deal, but said he may be willing to provide air support. European defense ministers, according to the Times of London, jumped on that, saying they would like to see U.S. fighter jets in Romania. But Vice President JD Vance said Europe will have to take the lion's share of the burden when it comes to guaranteeing Ukraine's future security. I'm Richard Johnson.
The parents of 27 girls killed in the flooding of Camp Mystic in July tearfully told their stories, urging Texas lawmakers to pass a bill to prevent a future tragedy. Correspondent Jim Roop reports.
Camp Mystic sits on the banks of the Guadalupe River near Hunt, Texas, and for more than 100 years, girls have enjoyed a summer camp experience. Last month, that experience turned tragic.
We did not send Lenny to a war zone. We sent her to camp. We trusted she would be safe. No parent should ever again face what we are living through now.
Michael McGowan's 8-year-old daughter, Lenny, was one of 27 girls swept away by floodwaters when the Guadalupe River swelled during torrential rains brought on by a tropical storm. Cece Williams Stewart's 8-year-old daughter, Seal, is the only camper still missing from the July 4th flooding.
Seal's chance to experience camp only existed because I was ensured that her safety and the safety of all the young girls was paramount. I ask you, what could have been more important than that?
Parents are urging lawmakers to pass SB 1, known as Heaven's 27 Camp Safety Act. The provisions of the bill include no cabins on floodplains. Camps should be required to have emergency plans and protocols approved by the state. Staff and volunteers should be properly trained on those emergency plans and protocols. And camps should have weather alerts and warning systems, among other provisions. Caitlin Bonner's 9-year-old daughter, Lila, was killed in the flooding.
Our daughters deserved better, and future campers deserve better. I implore you all to act quickly and pass SB 1 to protect campers before next summer and to ensure that there will never be another Heavens 27 due to Camp Mystic.
Camp Mystic's owner and executive director, Dick Eastland, who died in the flooding trying to rescue campers, reportedly pushed for flood warning systems, but government officials could not come up with the funding. I'm Jim Roop.
Federal judge intervenes on Texas' plan to display the 10 Commandments in public schools. And paint job for the southern border wall. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. A federal judge says some of the Texas school districts do not have to comply with a new state law that requires the 10 Commandments be displayed in all public school classrooms. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
The Texas law requires public schools to post in classrooms a 16 by 20-inch poster or a framed copy of the 10 Commandments. More than a dozen families have sued over the law that takes effect next month. They argue that the requirements violate the First Amendment. It's a fight other states like Louisiana and Arkansas are having too, and one that's likely to make its way to the U.S. High Court. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has tackled similar issues on the federal level, like a monument of the 10 Commandments on Capitol grounds. He adamantly defends the classroom requirement.
That law should stand just like the 10 Commandments monument at the Texas Capitol. I will always defend the historical connection between the 10 Commandments and their influence on the history of Texas.
This week, Judge Fred Byery said that the Texas law impermissibly takes sides on theological questions and officially favors Christian denominations over others. He added that even though the 10 Commandments would not be affirmatively taught, students would likely have questions which teachers would feel compelled to answer. The ruling applies to schools in Houston, in Austin, and in Fort Bend County. I'm Clayton Neville.
The entire southern border wall is getting a paint job. Correspondent Ben Thomas tells us what led to the Trump administration's plan.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the entire southern border wall is being painted black. She credits President Trump with the idea. Noem says the paint job will further deter illegal immigration because the black paint will make the wall hotter.
We are also going to be painting it black. That is specifically at the request of the president, who understands that in the hot temperatures down here, when something is painted black, it gets even warmer, and it will make it even harder for people to climb.
U.S. Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks adds the paint will also deter rust. Noem made the announcement during a visit to a portion of the wall in New Mexico, where she picked up a roller brush to help with the painting. Building the wall was a key focus of Trump's first term, and Homeland Security is receiving $46 billion to complete it.
Remember that a nation without borders is no nation at all. And we're so thankful that we have a president that understands that and understands that a secure border is important to our country's future.
Ben Thomas, Washington.
They're not just going to weigh you in and check your gloves. World Boxing will require genetic testing ahead of its upcoming championship. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
The governing body for Olympic-style boxing will require sex testing for all fighters wishing to compete in the women's division at its World Championships next month. World Boxing already had announced its plans to require competitors to undergo a polymerase chain reaction test or an equivalent genetic screening test to determine their sex at birth. It announced Wednesday that the rules will be implemented ahead of the World Boxing Championships in Liverpool, England in early September. I'm Gethin Coolball.
Gmail issues are a rare code red alert about a new cyber attack on all of its users, with the attacker being its own Google Gemini AI. Chuck Palm explains in today's Tech Report.
Google is issuing a red alert to its 1.8 billion Gmail users about a slick AI scam that's using its own Gemini chatbot against them. Cyber crooks are sending Gmail users a hidden prompt with tiny invisible text that's in white and font size 0 to trick Gemini into spilling your passwords without your knowledge. This unique spoof using AI to gain access is pretty shady because there are no links to click or no offers, just sneaky code that makes Gemini AI think that you're at risk and potentially exposing your data. This is so pernicious, in fact, that many Gmail users have lost access instantly. Google is updating Gemini 2.5 and rolling out machine learning to sniff out malicious instructions. Pro tip, go to Google Workspace settings and disable Gemini's smart features is about the only way you can stay safe. And of course, best practice is always change your password if you suspect you've been hacked. Find me at chuckpalm.com.
Here's Thursday Sports on America in the Morning with Robert Workman.
Baseball Wednesday, the Rockies top the Dodgers 8-3. Shohei Ohtani's first career start at Coors Field, a forgettable one. 9 hits and 5 runs allowed in 4 innings. Padres pounded the Giants 8-1. Gavin Sheets with 2 of San Diego's 4 homers. Phillies flamed the Mariners 11-2. Trey Turner had 5 hits. Kyle Schwarber hit his 45th homer. That's second in the majors. Seattle has lost 5 straight. Yankees dropped the Rays 6-4 in 10 innings. Giancarlo Stanton with a pinch hit, 2-run tater in extras.
How to, test your mind, test your body, test everything for the situation. It's not always going to go well, but at least you can make adjustments and figure it out.
New York hit 14 homers in the 2-game set. They've now won 5 in a row. Shea Langalier's 2-run shot in the 10th lifted the A's over the Twins 4-2. Diamondbacks rally past the Guardians 3-2 in 10 innings. Pirates tripped the Blue Jays 2-1, all of the scoring in the first inning. Kyle Higashioka broke open a tie game in the 9th with a bases-clearing double, and the Rangers beat the Royals 6-3. Tigers completed their sweep of the Astros 7-2 in a possible playoff preview. Cubs got by the Brewers 4-3 to inch a little closer in the NL Central. Wins for the Braves, Marlins, Nationals, and Angels. NFL preseason week 3 begins tonight. The final games before they count. Opening night 2 weeks from tonight. College football kicks off on Saturday with 5 games. And golf's FedEx Cup champion will be crowned at the Tour Championship. That begins today in Atlanta. That's Thursday Sports.
Thank you, sir. Making hay of an airport delay when America in the Morning returns after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. The castaways of Survivor 49, hoping to win $1 million by dealing with challenges in a remote part of Fiji, have been announced. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr has a follow-up.
On Wednesday morning, CBS announced the upcoming cast for the next season of Survivor. The contestants for the 50th season were already announced earlier this summer, but that won't air until 2026. Survivor 49 hits your screens next month. The show's social media accounts introduced the 18 new contestants competing for $1 million. One of the biggest names on the roster is Nate Moore, a film producer who worked on several of the Marvel films.
I think Survivor is a game built for T'Challa, for the Black Panther. He's physically capable, he's intellectually incredibly smart, he's kind to people, but also knows that there's a greater good that needs to be served.
Other notable contestants include former reporter Savannah Louie, who brings her journalistic edge to the game.
Being a journalist is freaking cutthroat. I can easily pulverize all of these suckers.
Communications director Alex Moore steps away from the cutthroat world of politics for a vacation.
I work on Capitol Hill, and I think that has prepared me for Survivor, because one of my favorite pastimes is kissing butt.
And finally, if brains are what it takes to win, rocket scientist Stephen Ram could be a ringer.
Survivor is like a deep space exploration mission, except instead of a bunch of highly trained astronauts, you have 18 rascals that are conspiring to jettison each other outside of the airlock.
2 of these contestants will go on to compete in the 50th season next year. Survivor 49 premieres on CBS on Wednesday, September 24th. I'm Kevin Carr.
Anyone who's had to deal with a long delay at an airport knows it can be frustrating, but for some passengers stuck on a plane sitting on the tarmac in St. Louis heading to Seattle, not only did they not mind the delay, they had a great time waiting. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on a musical diversion the passengers will never forget.
Passengers on a delayed flight from St. Louis to Seattle got some unexpected in-flight entertainment. Jazz saxophonist Dave Koz and his band were on the flight, which was diverted to Boise, Idaho.
You could just feel the energy. Everybody was so frustrated.
The flight attendant noticed Koz and his band brought their instruments on board and asked if they'd be willing to play a song. Usually, he says no.
But this seemed to be a different circumstance. Everybody's nerves were frayed.
Koz thought some passengers might not like horns playing in people's ears, and bandmate Marcus Anderson was reluctant to start playing.
At the end of it all, we felt really good, that we just did something great for the world.
Passengers were seen smiling and swaying in their seats.
It just was right. And it brought everybody together in a way that was very special. I will remember that moment for the rest of my life.
Anderson said frustration turned into fun. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Thursday, August 21st, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.